Hello, REA. Been a while since I've done a video update. This is coming in with an email with some flyers and some notifications about some changes to our calendar of upcoming events. Before I get into that, I just want to name the moment that we are in. You've been made aware that the district is facing $15 million in budget cuts. It's about 5% of our operating budget, coming out of last school year when $22 million of cuts were made, half of that being COVID relief money, the other half being part of our just general fund. We are not in a place where we can afford more cuts. It is going to hurt. And we believe, REA believes, that the district is doing all they can to keep the cuts as at least impactful as possible, and that's impossible. Everybody is going to be affected by these cuts. We are trying really hard to keep a lens on our members holding strong with each other and with our other union members, and we see our administrators in district office central staff working harder than they've ever worked before. It's not fair for us to say that we believe where cuts should be made. We don't have a strong position because, first of all, it's not our job. But second of all, our job is to fight for the underlying solution to this problem, which is legislature funding for education. Going to get to that in a minute. The other tension in this moment is we are in an open bargain. Thank you to the almost 500 of you that took our bargaining survey. Thank you to the maybe 100 of you that have come to our listening sessions. We've been pulling, the bargaining team has been pulling your input to figure out what are the priorities for these contract negotiations. The bargaining team's been meeting. We now have a contract action team that's been meeting to look at all of this data. We are getting closer to listing out the priorities to share with you. But what we know is this: we need a lower class size, we need higher pay, and most of all, the clearest set of data that we see is that you need support with student behaviors, whether that means more training, more support staff, better policies and practices in place for safety and protection of your learning environment. There's a host of things that we can and will do that are cost neutral, but at the end of the day, what we need is more staff and more time, and those cost money. So as we are gearing up for our bargain, we start bargaining in this room with the district next week. Your incredible bargaining team is going to go to the mat on your behalf. We're going to win every single possible thing that we can based on the feedback that you've given us as our union siblings. In the meantime, personally, my free time, rather than having a social life, my free time has been spent really doing that legislative advocacy piece in a very new way. I have hope that this coming legislative session, we have the potential to actually create the revenue streams we need to not just avoid cuts, but to fundamentally change how our schools are staffed and the kind of funding that our students deserve. It's possible. It's not easy. We've asked you for years and years to email and phone call and do social media and come to Olympia and lobby. That hasn't worked. What we need now is a continuum of escalation, and we're going to be asking for your help in that. The first thing that you can do is Tuesday. Hopefully you've already seen this flyer. I don't know. This event on Tuesday coming up, I'm bottom lining it. I am, whether or not you know this, I am the K-12 sector chair for the MLK Labor Council. And all of the education associations in the MLK Labor Council are supportive of this. And what it is, what the MLK Labor Council is doing is bringing in education issues as a labor issue. That's never been done before. So because of our involvement in MLK Labor Council, the State Labor Council is publicizing this event and is understanding that our public schools affect everybody and we are in a crisis. So that's one positive, hopeful thing. The other thing that this event is positive and hopeful in just the fact that it's happening at all with PTA support for the first time ever. Our parent groups are joining us in the call for new revenue. And if you've heard of the big three are funding priorities that the PTA, that our school boards, our administrators, our superintendents associations, everybody around the state is saying we need, which is full funding for SPED, full funding for transportation, and full funding for MSOC, that's materials and supplies and operating costs. If we get that funding, our district will prevent the cuts that we know are coming. So our district has about a $15 million shortfall just to keep status quo. Those three things, if the legislature funds those three things, MSOC, transportation, and special education, we're going to be okay. The problem is, okay isn't good enough. We still know we need smaller class sizes. We still know we need higher pay. And of course, we need more behavioral supports for students. And of course, we need more time to do our jobs to prepare for the student experience. So this event has PTAs, it has superintendents, it has school boards, it has organized labor all coming together. And unfortunately, I don't have confidence. I've been promoting it as much as I need. Hopefully you've already heard about this event, but this is an opportunity for you to join by Zoom or in person. We have some of our own Renton folks coming to be supporters and presenters of it. 6:30 to 8, Tuesday, we're going to do this. 101, here's how schools are funded. We're going to talk about what is our current tax base, just big, high level. Let's all agree on the same set of facts about how schools are funded. Second portion are the actual revenue proposals that we know are coming. So really kind of down and dirty summary of what are the differences between the B&O tax, the capital gains tax, the sales tax, the levy lid, the wealth tax, and what does it mean that we are the second most regressive tax state in the nation. So we're going to talk about how schools are funded. We're going to talk and teach about what the funding actually could look like this coming session with revenue proposals. And then the last part is, what do we do about it? How will we pressure the legislature to actually win the things that we need? So not only do we stop cuts from happening, but we get full funding. Whether or not you know this, Washington State became a state because of public education. It's why we have the strongest state constitutional language in the country. It is our paramount duty to amply fund education in Washington, and it is not happening. It's time that we join with parents, school boards, organized labor, everybody in the community to raise the alarm and to do whatever it takes to pass progressive revenue. So please come. Join us by Zoom. It's going to be a webinar, so we can have some security. But there will be opportunities for you to ask questions. Tons of resources at this event. If you can come in person, I've secured the Labor Education Resource Center. It's Salesiano College in Georgetown. We will have food and childcare, but we do need you to RSVP for coming in person. Also need RSVP to get the Zoom link. So Tuesday. Another update about Tuesday, we did have a bargaining listening session scheduled for Tuesday as well, just prior to this. This week, the bargaining team decided that partly we're not totally ready to have a specific listening session, but also the bargaining team wants people to come to this event. So we've canceled the 14th. We will be having another listening session on January 23rd, and that will be very specifically focused, asking you drilling down questions. We'll have breakout rooms for specific work groups. Lots of topics are on the table, but we really want to get your specific input based on the data that we've been gathering so that we have as much information and awareness as possible going into our bargain. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is actually kind of go back a little bit to the teach-in. So Tuesday's teach-in event is, like I said, really hopeful. It's really unique in that we finally have our school board and our superintendent and PTA all kind of saying the same thing about the funding crisis. These slides that I'm showing you here are actually made by our own school board president, Stephanie McGurban. She is co-presenting at our teach-in. She's got a segment where she's going to walk us through the prototypical model. I'm showing this to you for two reasons. First of all, we should be proud of our school board that they are stepping into the fight. They do not want to make cuts, and they see this problem. Our school board and Damian Patnod have said out loud, the prototypical model is the problem. The prototypical model is not part of the big three. It is part of the big five, which REA supports, which REA got MLK Labor to support, and it is to address what you see on the screen. Currently, the state funds the ratios for these people, these support workers in our school system, as you see. So the state thinks it's okay right now for us to get one school psychologist per 23,000 elementary students, one school psychologist per 216,000 middle school students. One school nurse is what the state funds for, as you see, 7,200 middle schoolers. Right now, we're getting one counselor for every two elementary schools, essentially. So this is the problem. Because we have strong unions, we've bargained for a lot more better ratios for these amazing, incredible support people. But because the state does not fund counselors or nurses or psychologists or social workers, it's all coming out of our class size money. And it means that we cannot afford to lower class sizes, and we certainly can't afford to bargain higher salaries for anybody. So these slides here, I'm not going to show you the rest because I want you to come on Tuesday and see the work that President of the board, McGurvin, has prepared for us. And just know that there will be a lot of information shared, but that we are committed to this being one event in time, and there will be a continuum of escalatory tactics we're going to need you to do. The problem, again, is not Renton School District mismanaging funds. The problem is Renton School District does not have the funds to do the basics for what we know our kids deserve. So I will be emailing you the registration link. And please do come to our listening session on January 23rd. Flyer coming as soon as our communications folks prepare that flyer. Maybe I'll do it, I don't know, but we need your voice. We need you to step up. And also the flyer, if you noticed, it's for everybody for Tuesday. So share it with your networks. Invite every single person because we all have an interest in public education. If you were watching the forum that we had, Eastside PTA Forum at Spanamish High School this past week, I was part of the core team organizing that. I got to speak at it, and I can say this: people are ready for change, and people realize that the absurd wealth inequality in our region, just a couple miles from here, is the problem. I'm going to leave you with this last little fact. The billionaires in our society are paying 3 to 4% of their income to taxes. We working class people are paying 15 to 20% of our income to taxes. Now, on the surface, that might not seem like a big deal. But when you consider that the billionaires who are profiting off of the surplus labor of workers they take in as much money in 60 seconds, every 60 seconds while they're sleeping at night, they take in as much money as a teacher makes in a year. Something is wrong. We can do better, and we have to start educating ourselves to the scale of inequality and to understand just how unfair our tax code is in Washington State. We can do it this session, but we're going to need your help. The kids are watching. They deserve better. Please, please, please join us in this fight to not just prevent the cuts, but actually amply fund our schools. I'll talk to you soon.